Hello, I'm Pseudodrifter. This video is not the usual play-by-play of how to kill a monster, but rather what to do now that you've reached high rank. Think of it as an epilogue to the rest of the guide. In truth, it's more like I'm not totally satisfied with the end of my guide. Basically, I wanted to talk about the things that I decided were important, but not important enough to put in the main guide. First things first, weaponry. There's actually four options when it comes to blunt trauma bowguns in high rank. You've got the two that I mentioned, the Griffin Blazuka and the Magda Gemitus 2, as well as two that are better at shooting than smacking, Destruction's Fusillade and the Ban Roar 3. Since my guide was about smacking instead of shooting, these guns didn't get mentioned. Until now. Let's start with my recommendation, the Griffin Blazuka. It does insane damage, like 15 more than the second highest damaging HBG. It also has the second highest built-in defense boost at 15. Just by having it equipped, you get an extra 15 defense. That's practically double the defense I had while fighting my way through low rank. That's pure insanity, I tell you. This gun has very noticeable drawbacks if you try to shoot it, though. It has a high deviation, which means your shots are likely to miss. Not because you were aiming poorly, but because the game's code dictates that you miss. What this looks like during a fight is a few shots going the very wrong direction. Not exactly desirable with your limited ammo capacity. It also has negative 20% affinity, or critical chance. Even if you're at the proper range for a critical shot, you won't be credited with scoring one most of the time. However, the affinity issue is irrelevant if you're using only melee attacks. So having a penalty there isn't that big of a deal for the purposes of my guide. Throughout the entire thing, I don't remember scoring a single critical melee hit in all of the smacks I did. And that was with a 0% affinity penalty weapon. So yeah, melee criticals with the HBG are not a thing. The high deviation can be mitigated by choosing the deviation suppressor mod instead of the shield mod. You can also thwart the deviation by using primarily spread ammo. Your individual pellets spread farther with every shot, meaning you'll need to be closer than usual for max damage. If only the Griffin Blazuka had some kind of countermeasure to help reduce the risk of being within bite and scratch range. Oh, wait! Next, we have the Magda Gemitus 2. This is the second highest damaging HBG, just after the Griffin Blazuka. It is also tied with the Ban Roar 3 for the highest defense boost with a value of 20. Holy cow, this is too good to be true. Max defense and mostly max attack? Sign me up! Slow down there, friend. The Magda Gemitus has some pretty glaring flaws, putting it behind the Griffin Blazuka. Just a quick glance in the smithy's shop will tell you that it has the same deviation issues and the same affinity problems that the Griffin Blazuka had. It gets worse, though. The recoil and reload speed are abysmal. Almost all of the practical ammunition will freeze you in place for a split second if you try to fire it. And even if you do manage to fire all of it, normal 1 is the only ammo type that lets you walk and reload at the same time with this gun. Some of these problems can be fixed with bowgun mods, but not if you plan on using 1 or 2 of those slots for shields as well. Save yourself the trouble and use it only for bludgeoning. The Magda Gemitus 2 was not meant for shooting. Which brings us nicely around to the defense-focused HBG that is actually decent at shooting. The Ban Roar 3. It boasts the same defense bonus that the Magda Gemitus has, but not any of the glaringly terrible firing characteristics. It actually has improved deviation, with only an average rating instead of high. The affinity is even decent, with no critical chance penalty. Together, this means your shots are more likely to hit, and more likely to score increased damage if you're at the proper distance from your target. The reload speed is still kinda bad, but the recoil is low enough to be manageable. Hell, normal 1 and spread 1 ammo has so little recoil, your character auto-loads the next round immediately after firing, making it work like the shotgun from old school Doom and Quake games. You could also think of it as a bolt-action bowgun with a really big magazine. So compared to the previous bowguns I mentioned, the Bon Raw 3 has good recoil, good deviation, good affinity, and gives you the max defense bonus too. Why didn't it even make it into the guide? What's the catch? Actually, there's two reasons. First, why would I include a bowgun that's good at shooting in a guide about not shooting? Second, there's the damage. It has an attack rating of 270, which is only average when compared to the other high rank HBGs. Average damage isn't good enough for using only HBG melee attacks. Because your melee range is roughly 3 feet in front of you, and your HBG melee attack is so stupidly slow, every opportunity for a safe hit should be taken, and those hits need to count. The key words there are safe hits. True, every monster has attacks that take a long time to finish before they can attack again, but those aren't your only opportunity for safe hits. By flinching a monster, you get a free shot on the face. By scoring a KO, you have a much larger opportunity to deal damage than just a flinch. By increasing your damage, you make both a flinch and a KO more likely. That leaves me with the last bowgun I wanted to talk about, Destruction's Fusillade. It is by far the least nutty of all the HBGs I wanted to mention. It has pretty okay damage at 285. That's low, but you can still work with it. The deviation is average, and there is no affinity penalty, which adds up to 2 improvements over the HBGs I mentioned in my guide for those keeping score. It can even fire all the squad support ammo, like defense up, attack up, and both flavors of healing ammo. Cool! What's the catch then? It doesn't have any kind of defense bonus. That's less than helpful if you plan on using it exclusively for melee, which segues nicely into why it got left out of my guide. Well, obviously besides, why include a shooting bowgun in the guide about not shooting? I feel that the Destruction's Fusillade is a good balance of shooting prowess and smacking prowess, but trades out the defense bonus for more useful multiplayer ammo options. It would be a genuine waste to only use it for bashing when it's actually pretty decent for shooting stuff too. It's also the only gun I decided to include in this list with the Wyvern Heart special ammo. So if you prefer Daka Daka over one shot, one kill, then this is the one for you. Now what about armor? For those unaware, some complete and partial sets of armor give set bonuses in addition to the bonuses of the particular pieces of that set. Good news for the player, you can even get 2 partial set bonuses if you're creative with choosing your armor. The 2 sets I chose to blend for the guide were the Diablos set and the Uragan set, recommending any 2 pieces of Diablos armor with the remaining 3 pieces all being Uragan armor. By equipping 2 pieces of the Diablos armor, you get the Slugger perk, which boosts your KO damage, and by equipping 3 pieces of Uragan armor, you get a unique Guard Up perk. The Uragan protection takes all the normally unblockable attacks and lets you block them anyways. Now, assuming you're not shooting, attacking, you're not shooting, reloading, or rolling. That's kind of a big deal. Stack in 3 shield mods, and you have better guard capabilities than a gun lance. Another pretty big deal is Val Hazek's 3-piece set bonus. It eliminates the cap on self-healing damage. Under normal conditions, when you get hurt, you will lose some HP and part of your health bar will turn red. This red part will slowly heal on its own if you avoid taking more damage. Sounds pretty broken, right? Val Hazek Recovery, the perk I'm talking about that goes along with his armor, makes it even more broken by letting you regenerate all of your life back if given enough time. This makes it a great idea for eliminating chip damage caused from blocking a monster's attacks over and over and over and over again. So exactly which pieces of Diablos, Uragan, and Val Hazek armor should you use? Well, I can't tell you. Rather, I could tell you, but it wouldn't be good advice since our individual playstyles are different. I'm actually quite terrible at dodging with a bowgun, and had more success finding ways to block a monster reliably rather than figuring out the timing to properly dodge each monster's attacks. It's very likely that you're better at dodging than I am, so telling you to use blocking perks anyways is just bad advice. Instead, I want to tell you which perks benefit a melee-only HBG playstyle, and leave it up to you to make the absolute perfect set for you. So let's get down to business then. First, we need to lay out some terminology to cut down on confusion. I will be referring to the actual perk, and not the name of the jewel, or charm, or set bonus, or decoration that gives you that perk. Okay, any questions? No? Fantastic. So during the process of putting together the perfect build for your own personal style of melee HBG, what are some useful perks to try? I already talked about the Slugger perk. It's obviously a good choice. There are only 3 ranks to the perk, so with a level 2 Slugger charm and 2 pieces of Diablos armor, you can start throwing out max KO damage in a hurry. Similar to Slugger, we have Stamina Thief. You know those times when the monster stops moving and just drools for a second? Yeah, they're out of stamina. The melee attack of the bowgun already has a good amount of stamina damage, so stacking up 3 out of 3 levels of Stamina Thief can yield some pretty spectacular results. Very effective for flying monsters because it costs them stamina to stay airborne, and they will land if their stamina gets too low. There's also a couple of other offensive perks to consider, and I'll go over them in a second, but Slugger and Stamina Thief are the most relevant to the melee HBG playstyle. Let's move on, instead, to Defensive Boost, which is exactly what it sounds like. It increases your physical defense. I already talked about why boosting your physical defense is a good idea when I was talking about the weapons. The only thing I have to add is Defense Boost has 7 ranks, and gives you plus 3 elemental resistance when you get to rank 4 of 7. That's plus 3 defense in every element at just slightly more than halfway through filling up to all ranks. It can be a lifesaver, especially if you're still trying to get through the high rank monsters. And defense is good and all, but it can only do so much. Having a large amount of HP is more important. There just isn't enough defense to prevent being one-shotted by some of the late-game monsters' attacks. This is why getting fresh ingredients for the canteen or eating a max potion before the fight is what can make the difference sometimes. If you're at full health, you can eat a direct hit and still survive. Not convinced? Okay, consider this then. There's only 3 ranks of HP boost, and at rank 3 of 3, it straight up doubles your starting, otherwise unbuffed, life bar. You land in a zone, and you have twice the life of everybody else who landed in a zone with you. Assuming nobody ate at the canteen before leaving. So, does this make it the best perk in the game, or the greatest perk in the game? Lastly, in defensive-focused perks, we have Evade Window. Evade Window is a very beneficial one, even though I didn't use it for the purpose of putting together the guide. Even though I didn't use it, it can't be ignored. It increases the time during your roll where you can't be hurt. Try to avoid getting this mixed up with the annoyingly similar named Evade Extender. Evade Extender increases the distance you travel when you dodge. That doesn't really it doesn't actually make it harder for you to to receive damage. Besides, both the light and the heavy bowgun cover a good distance with their rolls, so you don't really need to make that roll any longer. Evade Window is the useful one. It will actually give you a bigger window for timing your dodges. Way more useful, because when you dodge, you can't attack, block, or even change directions in the middle of your roll. Evade Window makes you less likely to be carded from messing up 2 panicked dodge inputs in a row. And while we're still kind of talking about inevitable things like getting carded from half health, the Resentment perk increases your damage if any part of your health bar turns red. Guess which tactic results in you taking repeated small amounts of damage? You got it, it's turtling! However, the truth is, it's a situational perk at its core, so if you want more damage whenever you're not in situations like that, just go for the normal, boring old attack boost. Attack boost is always good, but we actually don't need it. The HBG melee attack is slow, but solid. Damage is important, yes, but choosing attack boost only gives you marginal benefits to DPS instead of directly enhancing the HBG melee's strengths, or countering its numerous weaknesses. Increasing your damage isn't a priority in this light. I guess that brings us around to perks that I find useful, but not necessarily HBG specific. Earplugs are an absolute must. If you find something with a built-in earplug perk, remember it. So far, I've only found 2 earplug jewels, and they were both way too big to fit into any armor that I owned. Just having 3 of the 5 ranks filled is enough to nullify the roars of 1/3 of the monsters in this game. HP recovery is also nice. It's useful anytime you get hurt, and trust me, you will get hurt. Lastly, there's wide range. Your teammates near you get a portion of whatever recovery items you use with a larger healing radius and a greater percentage of the item's total effect going to your buddies as you fill in the 5 ranks of that perk. At maximum level, at 5 of 5, you can drink a Mega Potion and your friend nearby will get the full effect too. And also the word nearby is in big sarcastic air quotes. Sounds broken? It gets better. You only need 1 rank of wide range to heal your teammates' poison, so they never have to stop attacking. You can eat a Nullberry and cure their Water Blight, Blood Loss, Blast Blight, etc. It's so bonkers. I love it. Thanks, Grandpa Capcom. You're the best. And I think that's just about everything I discovered while trying to beat all the monsters to death instead of rationally shooting them. I hope I clarified a few things with this lengthy monologue. More importantly, if I got anything wrong, please let me know. I want my HBG Melee guide to offer only the best advice for those who want to kill monsters in a silly, unconventional, and surprisingly rewarding way. Thanks for watching!